Not a gimmick manifested in the spirit, a work in progress, and you can hear it in the lyrics. And when you feel it, you spit it from the heart. Words can be destructive or considered a work of art.
Who's that sneaking up on me? My mind perceives him, but I can't see him. Footsteps.
Hey, what's going on, LBK? Y'all heard that music playing, so you know it is time to focus. This is the Focus LBK show. Welcome to, what is this, probably episode 79? I hope I'm not wrong saying that, because if so, I'm going to have to change it up all down in the description and stuff. I think it's episode 79. We're getting up there. I think most podcasts don't make it up to about 80 episodes. I think it's like 10 or 15. So we've been going about 2 years. So anyway, here we go. Episode, we're going to say 79. If it's wrong, hey, sue me. I think it's right, though. It might be right. As you can tell, we're in the studio. We have a very special guest today, Mr. Chuck Edwards. He is the regional director for the SBDC. And I always want to say it's the Small Business Development. I always want to say corporation, but it's not. It's the center. Small Business Development Center. Chuck, welcome.
That's correct. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me today. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and then get into what is the mission and purpose of the SBDC.
Okay, you bet. So I've been the regional director for almost 2 years, working close to 2 years at the Texas Tech Center. One of the things that interested me is I had spent some life a couple lifetimes ago in higher ed, and then I spent some time in private business itself. And so this gives me an opportunity to kind of mix those two and help people who are trying to get something started or just fill in some gaps and for some resources that they wouldn't know. They may be excellent plumbers and electricians, but they're not as familiar with how to run the business. And so that's what the Development Center is about. Small Business Development Center, sure, that's correct. It is a resource center, and we try to be whatever that person needs. Sometimes it's just helping you walk through the first stages of getting things started. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's more about the financing or accounting or cost calculations, that type of thing. Sometimes it's just about having somebody else to talk to and brainstorm. And so we try to be whatever that small business owner needs. And so the SBDC at Texas Tech is we're hosted here at Tech, but Texas Tech actually hosts the entire Northwest Texas section of the SBDC network. And the network overall nationally has about almost 1,000 centers. And the Texas Tech hosted center has all throughout West Texas. So we have offices here in Lubbock, but we also have a place in Abilene, Amarillo, it's Stephenville, Wichita Falls, that kind of stuff. So we have 6 different offices throughout West Texas. Mm-hmm. So Texas Tech serves those, and what we just try to help as many different people as we can, have outreach where possible. We provide almost all of our services are free. All of our consulting is free. That's one of the main things we provide, one-on-one consulting. But we also do a fair amount of research for business owners, and there's no charge for those types of things either. Mm-hmm. Occasionally we'll do workshops or educational seminars, and they, by and large, we try to keep them free. Every once in a while we'll have to pay a certified person to come in, and when that happens there'll be a small charge just to cover that fee. But we are grant funded, and so we work with federal dollars, state of Texas dollars, of course, sometimes economic development dollars, and so that's where everything gets paid for. So I just like to make sure everyone realizes you're already paying for it, so come use it, right? Quit, right. Don't let yourself lose out on an opportunity.
Yeah, and that's something that is hard to believe, though. If you didn't know it, you hear it, you're like, wait, all this is free? Y'all do free research for people trying to start a business or people that have a business and are looking for the right pocket or niche.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I always say niche or niche, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I have a coworker's from France, so he likes to, he's niche instead of niche. But, right. We're kind of, whichever way works. It's okay with us.
Right.
But, yeah, you're exactly right. That research, people pay thousands of dollars for. I mean, right now, today, someone is paying some firm to gather the same types of research that we can do. And we'll work through our network. We have some students that work with us as well. It gives them great training to learn how to get the most out of the research. But then we'll do just what you said, ask a question. What type of demographics do I need to make this type of business work? If I want to own a convenience store, what do convenience stores generally in this area or in Texas or just nationally overall, how much do they spend? How much do they have to have on hand for inventory? What kind of rates do they pay for insurance or payroll payroll rates and things like that. So those items are hard to know, right? You can kind of have, even if you're familiar with, as a business owner, you might be familiar with the industry a little bit. You may have had a couple of jobs in that industry, but you still may not have had access to some of that type of information. And so we will compile reports, and in addition to those very basic, useful bits of data, we can get you in that same report a lot of resources that somebody can use, trade associations, things like that you may not be familiar with. To me, it's just a fantastic. I wish everyone almost would be required before you start a business, come get a report and just kind of at least make sure you're walking into all the different aspects of things. You're still going to be a lot more knowledgeable about a convenience store if you've been in that industry than we might be, but we can give you data that you wouldn't know. And then beyond that, which is industry information, we can get very specific, like you had commented, on things like the location. So like we've had a couple clients who were trying to decide between 2 places or 3 places. And so one kind of looked like the best because of the price or something like that. But then you look at it and what's the traffic for the location?
Right.
And it could be traffic like vehicle traffic, but we also can provide a report that's kind of pulled from or aggregated from smartphone data. So you can find out exactly how many visits that place had, that particular location or that corner, how long they stayed there, how much, there's enough data, you can even sometimes find out how much was spent there. You can do a competitive analysis on the other 2 or 3 people in town that are very similar to what you want to do. There's all kinds of things that you can gather at your fingertips. We come in, we sit down, we talk with you, we try to get that information. To me, I learned something. I've been doing it for a couple of years now, and I still learn something every month about, wow, I didn't realize, well, that's a great tool to access next time. So I would love to have anybody who's thinking about opening a business, but pause before you get too far ahead, and then because it might make you shift it may not change your mind, or maybe it does change your mind, but either way, you're getting good information.
What so with all the research and information that you guys have access to, what would you say is what is the most underrated or need to know piece of information for a new business?
Okay, so there's probably 2 ways to answer that question. One, the first part of what we can do for somebody is just make sure you're not missing something. That's kind of a fear of the unknown. Okay, so I go complete paperwork, I can get an LLC, or I can get a follow corporation, but who else is going to come wanting information? And we can help walk you through that, whether it is the court, local county information, whether it is permits that you may need. You can find yourself in a situation where you're doing everything you think you need to, and then you find out there needed to be something on file, or your employees needed some particular certification, and you don't have it, and then shut you down until you get it. So it could really complicate things. So we'll help do our best to walk you through those types of things. So the compliance, part of owning a business is different every business is different. And so that part, I think everyone needs to make sure they're not missing that. There are some federal reports that are needed. We have a Texas franchise tax report that even if you are going to most small businesses aren't going to owe any tax, but they have to file the report. And if they don't, then their status will change in the state, and someone checks your status. They'll say that you are unsatisfactory status.
Never mind. The computer is working. The computer is going to be blackberries again. They were back up.
Okay. Well then, yeah, you just have to touch it sometimes. Yeah.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're
right.
good.
Okay.
We're still rolling, right? Everything
Yes,
good? Okay.
So those things, you can cause yourself some problems by just not filing a zero report. So that's one half of the question. The other half of the question is the part that I mentioned. You can find out if I would like to have a coffee shop that is similar to this one, or I want to have a barber shop or or something like that. So where's a place in town that you think, when I see that, they have the kind of operation I think I can do, but there's not one on this part of town or over here where I'm at. I want to see if it can sustain it. Well, you can get very specific information often about that competitor, and that'll help you know, well, they're making it work, or it'll help you realize how much you have to have in business to make it work. And so those are like piecing dots, connecting the dots. And I think you need to have both of those. I mean, to really probably start yourself off in solid footing and be successful.
Let's go back for a second to that franchise thing.
Franchise tax, yeah.
Franchise tax. So I just got that. So this is why I'm glad we're talking. I checked my business mailbox the other day, and I had the usual assortment of junk mail and your domain, this, that, and the other, and all that. Blah, blah, blah. And I had something that was business franchise tag, and I read it, and I was like, okay, well, and I think it mentioned something like $23 million or something like that.
It's crazy. Yeah,
it's like that's not me.
But see, people will make that mistake and think, well, I don't need to file or I'm not a franchise, because it's kind of a weird term really to use. Right. People think, well, I'm not a franchise, or I don't meet the millions of dollars that are required. But in reality, you can still cause yourself challenge as a business owner by not filing what you need, and even if it's just a zero report type thing. So, and plus, I'll charge you for not filing. So you could pay a penalty of $50, I think, or something like that. But more importantly, it'll change your status on the state records, and you don't want that.
It's so weird. This is one of the things that I need to come talk to you guys some more. I probably need to put y'all on speed dial, because I'm always getting something in the mail that doesn't seem to apply to me.
Well, Robert, I love you bringing this up, because when I was in business, had a handful of different things going on, 15 plus years, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's what I bring to the position that is maybe different than prior people who might have been directors. They were very capable at handling some of the business plans types of things. But I know what it's like to get a weird piece of mail, because I've been there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I tend to look at things from a very operational perspective.
Right.
And I tell people, hey, do not feel like you're doing anything wrong if you just send me a snapshot of this email, this piece of mail that you got, and ask me, is this legit or not? Because sometimes they can make it look legitimate and it's a scam, or it's something they're trying to get you to pay them to do that you can do yourself for free in 15 minutes. So they get away with it because you made the choice to pay them, and they're still giving you something. But in the reality, it was totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
And so those are the things I say, do not feel like it's a problem. In fact, that's a hard thing as a business owner for the audience that has had businesses. Part of the challenge sometimes is just not feeling like you're by yourself.
Right.
You're on an island. You're like, where do I go get this? Well, I don't know what this is. I've never seen this form before. Well, we hope that you'll start, and you and your listeners will see the SBDC as an option to help you answer those questions.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I can already tell I'm going to have to go. Hopefully I didn't throw that thing away. I think I still have it. I'm pretty sure I still have it.
Well, we can get you covered if we need to.
Okay.
We can go on site and find the forms or whatever we need to.
Oh, see, and that's what I'm talking about. I tell you what, one of my frustrations as a business owner is it seems like there's so many different regulations and things that pop up that A, you never heard of, B, you don't know if it applies to you 100%, you're not sure, C, you think it does or it probably does apply to you and it costs you money, or D, something, I'll give you an example of something that just happened to me. So I have a business number so that I can, because you have to have a separate business number for your business. On that business number, it's actually with, I think it's Vonage. So they just recently had some federal law passed, said, I think it's 10 DLC or something like that. And it's like, if you are a business, you need to register to be able to send links and stuff like that to people, because they're trying to cut down on spam texts and spam calls. Well, I don't do campaigns. I text clients their videos and say, hey, here's that video. It's finished. I want to check it out. See if you like it. Tell me, anything need to be edited or changed. That's all I do with my business phone. Talk to people or text people about videos. But now, because they've changed it to try to stop these spam things, I can't send links on my business number. And it's like, you're killing me.
Yeah, it's exhausting. And things will change, or someone will be trying to do something to comply, they think, and then it'll adjust. Another very similar thing that some of your listeners may have heard about is there was a BOI reporting requirement from the Department of Finance, I believe it was Commerce. There was a federal requirement to do this particular form.
Yeah, may I interrupt? Is that the owner of interest or beneficial
ownership of interest exactly.
Yeah.
So it was BOI, and it went You had to do it by this particular day. If you filed an LLC, it must be done. And then there was a federal judge that filed an injunction, and then there was they rescinded that injunction, and then they redid it again. It went back and forth. No joke. Like over the course of about 4 weeks, it was on again, off again, on again, off again, like 3 times. So now they finally, the last time I said, I bet they're just going to quit and then revisit it and do something else later. And finally, they decided to quit arguing about it in the courts and come to some sort of. So now it's not required anymore.
Yep.
But people have been doing it or trying to stay in compliance, like you mentioned, and it just keeps getting adjusted.
And that affected me. I got an email said well, matter of fact, what it was, I was doing some. I think it was one of those the PayPal type things or Venmo or something like that, and they said if you want to use it for your business, you have to have that BOI. And they were asking for all kind of information. I was like, I don't want to give them all that information.
Yeah, it was a lot of people were not real thrilled about that. I believe what their intention was to try to cut down, like you mentioned, cutting down on spam with the links. Their intention with this requirement was to understand where the shell companies were and where things were just being maybe nefarious efforts were being made to shuffle money here and there, and so they thought this was a way to make sure of who owns that LLC or that company, and it would just help track or be able to follow the money if they needed to, right? So that was the purpose behind it, right?
Yeah.
But I think what really got kind of the judge and the other people that finally stopped it on the wrong side of that effort was that it had high penalty rates. So you might not even know about it, or you may not even think it applies to you, and you don't do it by the required date. And it was like crazy, like $10,000. It was like it could be a massive, life-changing type of penalty that they could force.
Destroy your business.
Destroy your business. And so I think that's where they said, hey, I get it. You can ask some people to do some things, but you can't make it so devastating. And so that was where the first the injunction gathered its footing, I would say. And then after that, it's just been back and forth.
Somebody, I think I read online somewhere that supposedly a user on X, I hate calling it X, Twitter, showed it to Elon. He's like, hey, Elon, check this out. And Elon was like, really? Wait a minute, what is this? And supposedly he had something to do with getting it with the Doge and all that.
There's
stuff.
a lot of that going on. Yeah. I'm telling you, everyone looking at a lot of things. So yes, it was. It is whatever the reason was. Boy, they were serious about it, and it went back and forth and back and forth. But it is now halted.
Squashed, supposedly, right?
And eventually, they'll probably roll out some variation of it that people can feel better about. Like you mentioned, it asks for some pretty specific information. It's like, I don't really know if this now becomes public record or what. I don't really know if this is how we want to handle it. And so there were some legitimate concerns, I think.
That's one of my frustrations as a person that's trying to make a business fly, is just all these little things that pop up that have nothing to do with your business.
Yeah, I mean, I see varying reports that come up and they'll say, I have to spend X% of my time or X number of hours a week just handling things that are administrative at best, or a waste of energy at least, in a way that doesn't have any direct effect on your business. So it is a challenge.
Time is money. So if you're spending time if you're spending an hour or two a day or a week or whatever it may be, what is your hourly rate? That's what you just paid. You just worked for free.
Yeah,
for something that has nothing to do with
right.
you.
That's an hour you couldn't devote to bringing in a new customer or servicing an existing customer. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's probably, and my business ain't even big and booming yet. I'm throwing that up there. But I could imagine, like, just the one little instance that I gave with the not being able to send text messages. So that hurt me because I didn't know that it happened. So I was sending clients, hey, got that video finished? Review that. Let me know. Hey, got your video finished? Hey, your video. I felt like Oprah. Your video's done. Your video's done. I'm sending out this stuff left and right.
Couldn't get any answer.
And I'm waiting. I'm like, dang, they sure are taking forever to review these videos. Like, what's going on? And finally, about a week or two after waiting, I said, let me call some. And they said, no, I didn't get a link.
Wow.
You didn't get a link?
So that's interesting. I would like to research that a little bit more. So that was something that particular carrier did in an attempt to reduce.
I don't know if it was that carrier. I think it was a law that was passed or something a regulation or whatever you want to call it that affected people that do that type of business.
Wow.
So
when you come in, I'm going to ask you some more questions about that because
Okay.
I'm sure that affects other businesses as well. Like I said, it's a challenge to stay on the front end of a lot of that.
Yeah.
You know, we're always finding about something new that came up.
that's ridiculous. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: what is the climate like right now in Lubbock specifically for starting a small business, maintaining one, or growing one? Is it pro
Well,
business or?
You know, I can say that in the 2 years that I've been there, I've kind of asked the same question from some of the people that have been there for years. I've got some people in my office that have been there for 25 plus years, so they've seen lots of ups and downs. I think what we have seen in Lubbock is there were people kind of in a holding pattern for the past 6 or 8 months. As the interest rates have went down, that has at least piqued the conversations a little bit and helped some of the people that were on the fence or considering options. Now they feel like they can. Interest rates coming down always helps, right? If you're going to be in a business that needs to borrow a little bit of money,
Right.
even if you just borrow money to buy a truck or something, right? So it does make a difference. I think also there was a lot of uncertainty around, the presidential election is always going to, create some level of caution. They're going to wait to see what's going to happen after the election. I think that I sense that there is more conversation activity now than it was, let's say, a year ago this time. Before, we had a lot of people asking questions, but it was more in the line of, I want to do this as a side business. I'm trying to add to my existing thing, which we help, by the way, I didn't mention this earlier. The majority of our businesses are people who are 1 or 2 or 3 people type shops. I mean, so a lot of times they'll get the feeling that, well, I don't have a store, like I mentioned, a convenience store or whatever.
Right.
And they'll think, well, I think they're probably trying to serve a different group. Actually, we're trying to help the people that have maybe fewer resources. Once you kind of get up to a point, you're probably going to have your own HR person, and you're going to have maybe an accountant that does a lot of the things that you might ask us. So I think the first year, there was a lot of the small, more side business, not even a full-time type of thing. Now, it's definitely still there. I don't think that's going away. I think that's something from post-COVID that's probably going to continue. But I do believe there are people now who have been thinking about something, maybe even last for 4 or 5 years, but they're at a point when they've been saving or they've been doing research or they're preparing themselves. And I think if we can get continue to see some improvement on the economic side of things, there's going to be a wave of new businesses that come in from that. And Lubbock's lucky because we have a lot of growth. We're different than many other segments of the nation, or even in Texas. Places like Austin and some areas outside of Dallas are kind of leveling off and kind of really having even having like property values are kind of reducing, and we're still going full speed here.
What is one of the biggest pitfalls you see for people trying to start a business?
They got a great idea. Sometimes I'll even have done a lot of thought and a lot of research, but they try to start it with less than what is needed to actually make it be successful. So they will, they'll try to bootstrap. There's nothing wrong with bootstrapping. We love those stories, and when they work out, it's like the ones that everybody remembers. But what I've seen happen quite a bit with some of the clients is they really needed $15,000, $20,000 to kind of launch this the way they need it, and so they end up shorting something. And usually it could be marketing, or it could be some key personnel that they're looking for that they can't have in place because they just don't have the financial flexibility. And what that'll do is it'll just stall out something. And plus, it's so exhausting just you being a business person. It's just there's always something, right? And you can wear yourself down a little bit. And so I feel like if you let the momentum slack off just because you didn't quite have enough to really launch something, then it'll end up hurting you, and sometimes it'll be the difference maker in a business. So I feel like I wish I can provide a couple. Everything we do, by the way, when you meet with us, is all confidential. So whenever we don't share this information, we don't share addresses, names, nothing that gets sold to the to the SBA. There's nothing. Right. We are there for you. But I can say that I've had a couple of clients that when they came to us, it was too late. They had saved up some money, they'd put it all together, they had launched, but they tried to do it with 30,000, and really to open the store the way they needed 60 or 70. And they could have gotten a loan and probably been able to create a scenario that would have worked for them. They had enough working capital to ride out the growth of that first year and a half. That first year and a half is challenging, right? Even in the best of situations, it can be very challenging. But they go and they by the time they get to month 12, and they're like, oh, I'm not, I've got my next busy season is in 4 months. What am I going to do between now and 4 months? I don't have enough to pay so can I get a loan? Well, they've lost that opportunity because so much of the reserves or the resources that they used when they launched the business has been eaten up. And where they could have used that initially to create, use an SBA program or some other type of program to give them what they needed for a 2-year growth plan. So I think that's one of the pitfalls. They try to they want to get out, they want to get busy. It's all, good reasons, but they're still not quite prepared to handle what it's going to look like for the next year and a half. One of the things we do at our center is we do pro formas intended to take you through the first couple of years, and we walk you through every line of that pro forma. I mean, it's your pro forma, so we ask you a million questions, we give you information, and it's intended to help you see what is it snapshot. What's the snapshot look like for my businesses for the next 2 years? And they, that can make a big difference sometimes.
Interesting. I had a list of questions here. Let me pull it up. We were just kind of conversing.
Sure.
Oh yeah. You guys have a couple of big things kind of going on. Tell us about that West Texas business circle and also SBDC Day in Austin. What's going on?
Well, I'll start with SBDC Day. It's happening this week. So some of our state officers are meeting some of the state legislators in Austin, and we are being recognized one of the days this week, Thursday, I believe, as SBDC Day. And it is intended to just stop for a minute and take a look at some of the successes of the SBDC network overall, not just our Lubbock office or the West Texas office, but all throughout Texas. Okay. And so we'll take, and at that point we just completed an annual report where we'll break down how many jobs, we helped create with our consulting or with the small businesses that we're working with. How many dollars did that create? Of course, the state's interested in how much tax revenue does that create. And so it gives everyone an opportunity to stop and realize, we do want you to be successful. If you're successful, the region's successful, Texas is successful. But then how does that all look like, whenever we put them all together? And so that's what's happening this week at the SBDC Day. They're looking at this, the different participants, the number of clients, the return on investment, so to speak. And so that's part of one of the things I was going to mention. One of the things we're doing that is new, though, that I'm hoping will really be important to some of the clients in West Texas, is that as everything that we do with you as a consultant is confidential. So we don't really have a way for me to, I'll have a client will say, well, do you know anybody that does bookkeeping? Do you know anybody that does this service? Do you know and we can't do that. We can't provide a reference or a referral or that type of thing.
It's almost like showing partiality.
Yeah, we just can't do that as much as we'd love to, right? But what we, to sometimes help somebody, our goal is to help everybody and try to be impartial in that respect. However, we are starting with Apex. Apex is a part of a sister organization there at Texas Tech at the Institute of Small Business, and we are creating the West Texas Business Circle. It's going to be a free networking event once a month, third Tuesday of every month. We are going to provide an opportunity for you to get maybe a little bit of information. Maybe there'll be 10 or 15 minutes of resource type of thing, but the majority of it is for me to put you together with other people I know. So Robert, if we're at that event and I say, hey, Robert, I know this person over here had something, because I want you to talk, and you guys meet, and then you guys have a connection that you need, it'll give you a chance to expand your business. It'll give you a chance to meet other people in the community. And so we're using that event, and it's going to be happening once a month, to help kind of drive those connections and make those introductions. While we're not, like I said, allowed to, or don't even want to go down that road of trying to promote one over the other, that got to be impartial. If you come to a room and there's 50 people, I'm going to make sure you get to meet as many of those people as possible. And so that's what we're going to be doing at the West Texas Business Circle.
Okay, and when does that start again?
April 15th, Tax Day. First one we're going to have is going to be on April 15th, Tuesday. It'll be in the morning from 8 to 9:30. and we'll have donuts, or we'll have some coffee and things like that. We'll take a few minutes to provide some information that might be useful or helpful, but then the majority of it's going to be about you and the connections that you have. We'll let anybody who wants to have like a 10 word or less type introduction to their business, so that people can kind of pinpoint, oh man, I need to talk to somebody that, or I need to get a bug guy to come to my house or whatever. And it just gives you a chance to make those connections.
Right. For the audience there, I met Chuck. What was it? I was about 6-8 months ago. Almost a year ago. Wasn't it?
Well, it might have been.
I'm terrible with time.
It's terrible time. It goes by so fast sometimes.
Yeah, so 6 months to a year ago, up at the Civic Center, there was a SBDC event. And basically it was a workshop. There was a conference, and they had different workshops in different rooms. You can go to each room, and they had, marketing. They had all kind of different things about starting businesses up. And so Chuck was one of the briefers there, and I got a lot of stuff from him, and glad I went to that event. So I guess I say all that to say, on April 15th, on this West Texas Business Circle, man, y'all should make it out there, because these events can be really helpful. A lot of people that you can meet out there that could end up being clients or end up helping you do something with your business. You could end up helping them do something. Yeah, you know what? Speaking of that event, Chuck, I think you had a correction to make on that. My memory was kind of foggy, but help us out.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you recognizing our part in it, but it was an event that was the West Texas Small Business Summit is provided or coordinated through South Plains Association of Governments, SPAG, and Caprock invited us to be there. We do a lot of things with them. And so I was one of the speakers, like you mentioned, that was there. And so that gave us an opportunity to talk about, I think in that particular time, it was about financial statements, I believe, or no, maybe it's targeting a customer.
I think it was targeting a customer.
Targeting your market customer. So that we work with them quite often because they're great for the community. They help businesses get started. In fact, they're going to be in the new building we're at. Okay, so I'll mention that here before we close out the day. But we, I just wanted to kind of make sure that we kind of understood everyone's role. We're going to be in the same building as them. They've bought the building that's right off Indiana, pretty close to Orlando's Nana's little shopping center, and they had purchased the building that was a previous bank. And so there's a section of that was, I think, a prior mortgage center. And so we're moving into that center. So we'll be in the same building, give us a long-term home. Right now we're currently at the Innovation Hub temporarily as we were kind of working through these last few months. And that will be a grand opening or open house for that will probably be in a few months as the construction ends and the remodeling. But they've asked us about our interest in being there, and we found it a great fit. So we're going to be doing that as well. So often, if you're at SPAG, catch us. You can go right next door. Okay. We can help as well with some of the technical aspects of getting the business started.
Okay. All right. Looks like you have a whole plethora of interesting literature that you brought to go over. Tell us about something else. What else you got down there?
Well, I just like to bring a few things in case it can come up. We were talking about this SBDC day, so just to give you an idea of how many business starts in Texas. This is just Texas only, but at the Texas level, our centers helped walk through 1,480 different business starts. We've serviced about 61,000 plus clients. So it's like we're talking to lots of people.
Right here in Lubbock, or is that South Plains?
That's all throughout the Texas.
Okay. Wow.
And then I've got some Texas numbers as well. But the thing that is important to recognize is not everybody we talk to has to open a business. So we've met with 61,000 people. Some of them are existing businesses. Some of them are exploring an idea. Some of them actually do start the business. And so that's where I feel it's important. We've had as many as 8,500 or so jobs created in the last year. And so that obviously is great when that works out that way. But sometimes, I see our role at SBDC is to make sure that you don't, let's say you cash in your retirement, you're trying to do everything that, you wished and wanted to do, but you go at it a little early, maybe I mentioned, you don't have enough dollars together, it doesn't work out. That's like a devastating end to a dream. Right. And so sometimes it's just about kind of planning it a little bit differently. So like in Texas, you were talking about Lubbock particularly, I could say that we have had 1,286 jobs created just in the Lubbock area alone in the last year. And our SBDC clients have received over $100 million worth of funding. So 100.6 specifically. And so we have 261 businesses just in this area alone. So that's a substantial move in that direction. So we like to try to just kind of pinpoint some of those successes when they're there. Absolutely. You'd mentioned the event. We like to do that was one of the training events. I mentioned we do training. Those are free. I would like to encourage everyone to go to our website. It's at LubbockSBDC.org.
Gotcha.
And on that website, you can go to the workshops link. And for instance, and I can just made a list of just a few that are coming up. Most of them are free. We can do webinars. Some of them will be about using a website to drive your business. Sometimes it's about social media. Sometimes it's about, a finance question, something like that, HR related types of things. They're free. So I suggest everyone just as a matter of routine, go and see if some of those speak to you and your needs as a business owner.
Okay.
They're out there. We do some of them in person, and one of them that we're doing in person that might interest some of your listeners is we're doing a start your own business boot camp, I'm calling it. It's going to be in the evenings, and it's going to be September 23rd and 25th. Okay. It's going to be at the new Goodwill Career Center, or the Goodwill Career Center on 66th and University. Great location. They'll be there. That we do a lot of things with the center, and often find ourselves there 6 or 8 times a year doing workshops and trainings. And one of them will be, I'm going to do a target your own marketing, your client there as well. Here pretty soon, but the Start Your Own Business Goodwill at Center in September. I'd love for everyone to kind of be aware of that, and if they're thinking about something, you want to know what it's about, we're going to walk you through a lot of those compliance issues. We're going to give you some basic information to consider regarding financial aspects of opening a business. So that'll be we try to have at least one of those a year, and that's when this one is going to be in the next few months. Another thing that we like to try to promote, that if anyone here would like to take advantage of, it's free, but it's a shop small, shop local link. I've done a year or so when I started, I did something like this around the holidays for sort of the retail push. And so I shifted it last year and said, let's make this a permanent thing, to where any of our clients can request and put a profile together. It's on our link. It categorizes the different businesses, into accessories and apparel and services and all sorts of different types of businesses. And you can go and just promote yourself. We're going to be promoting that pretty heavily throughout the year at different places. And so I like to think of it as a two-way promotion. One for you to go look at, have a place and go look for businesses, similar to our West Texas business circle we want to try to promote. And second, it'd be for you to put your business. So any services that you might feel someone might be interested in, they could be added to that list. Okay. So it is on our website. I just mentioned the website. Up at the very, very top in the very center is like shop small, shop local. You click on it, and then you can search around. There's we just got it rolling, so there's 30 or 40 people, but I want like a couple hundred. So as the year progresses, I'm going to add, of course, any new clients that would come in. I'll ask them if they want to be part of it. It's not a requirement and whatever, but if it's something that you feel going to work, I'd love to have people do that as in there. And if you go to that link, by the way, and you're searching, at the very, very bottom, it says, if you'd like to be added to this list, click this little Google form and you fill it out. Now, the only requirement we have is we need you to be a client. Right. It doesn't charge anything. There's no cost. We'll set you up as a client. And in that way, we can just, from our stakeholders' perspective, these are how many people we're trying to help.
It makes sense. That in itself is a good opportunity, just to be on that little listing there. It's almost like a mini chamber of commerce. Sounds like. Yeah,
that's what it's meant to be, a way for you to get your name out, but maybe not have to pay some of those fees and membership charges and things that are sometimes hard for a brand new business.
Yeah. Just something that kind of popped into my head here. Listen to you. What out of curiosity, what is one of the fastest growing areas or specialties of business that you see in West Texas? Lubbock specifically, I guess.
Well, that's an interesting question.
It might not be something that's top of head or front of mind for you, but just curious what you've been seeing.
I will say that there is I can almost answer the question in reverse, in the sense that I have seen a dramatic drop in restaurant or food related things. I have seen a major uptick in very specific services. For instance, like pet related services or something like that. So that, they've came to the conversations with us with a clear idea how they want to help this type of customer generally. Right. And then now they maybe need to be more specific with locations or something like that.
Right.
Boy, the first, when I mentioned that first year, there was a lot of people doing side, work. There's a lot of people that, there were many more people, I should say, that first year than lately who would want to make salsa and sell it or, do something like a true side type of business. That's an interesting question. It would have to be service related. And we are not quite yet economically ready to take on some of the bigger bills, like if somebody's going to bring in a warehouse and they're going to have a construction piece to their business being started. They're still kind of holding off until they hopefully have a little bit more of an improvement on the interest rates and stuff still.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That everything is really interrelated like that. Like you said earlier, if interest rates are high, that's the cost of money. That's the way I like to think of it. People think interest rates. No, it's how much money costs. To get money, you got to pay some money.
Sure does. We did it with a client just in the last week or so, and we looked at everything was exactly the same, but how it was the building itself was going to be dealt with. And there was, within those two options this person was considering, there were hundreds of dollars difference. And while one looked a little better one way, it was a little different because of the way the down payment, it has different variations. And so they had to make the decision, would I rather spend some of my resources up front to have the down payment be handled this way, or do I want to incur another $480, I think it was, or something like that, for interest costs for this other loan using this different type of way of doing it? That's like crazy. $500 is a lot of money to, but you're paying it each month. So it looked better, but when he saw that, he realized maybe that's not the way I want to go after all, because, like I said, it's the cost of money. Absolutely.
Can you go back to? You kind of alluded to it on your previous answer, but what's the importance of like niching down? I don't know. You should. That's one of the business courses that I took for videography, starting a videography business. Is the gentleman, pretty successful guy out of Dallas, and was saying that you have a natural tendency to want to run out there and I make that video. I shoot that too. I shoot this. I shoot that. And he was saying, no, you don't shoot everything. The more you can niche down, the more money you can make.
Yes, that is absolutely true. And I've seen it replay over and over and over with the businesses that we deal with. The tendency when you're starting is you don't want to turn down anything, right? You want to try to, you just want to keep the doors open, keep things rolling. But what happens is you end up expending a lot of energy and you're chasing maybe all throughout the town. Maybe you're doing work that's not as efficient with your time. Maybe you don't quite have the right equipment, so you spend some money on some equipment to make it happen. Whatever the case is, you're just kind of chasing that dollar, and it will be just as devastating almost as not even having somebody, initially, because what you've done is cost yourself. You talk about the opportunity cost. Now you're not actually spending the time finding that very group of people that are interested in the kind of things that you can do for them. It happens a lot, yes. And I think the biggest trick for people is you think, is my target customers going to be soccer moms? Okay, so I got that. But then the soccer mom can even be more of an niche, maybe from a particular neighborhood or from maybe it's the youth age player, and it's not when they get up to competitive levels or something like that. There's all sorts of ways that you can even keep drilling down. So the more you drill down, the easier it'll be for you to figure out exactly how it is you can serve that customer. And then once you figure that out, it's like a path you don't want to ever quit wearing out, right? So you can always test out other target customers. You can test them out, but you got to be very strategic about it. You want to make sure you're handling your customer, your target customer, and doing everything they need, not trying to do everything everyone needs, because when you start doing that, you'll spread yourself so thin. And it's okay. Here's the way to think about it. How many have been to a restaurant? Very few restaurants can be successful if you open and there's like 12 pages of things that you can choose from.
Right.
Maybe was the Cheesecake Factory. It has a big old massive list of things that you can buy, and that's about the only restaurant I can think of that can get away with that. I don't, and so most of the time, the restaurants that are able to make it are going to be very good at a certain thing, or maybe they'll have this and a couple little extra alternatives for the people who, for a group or something. But they're not trying to have Mexican food, Italian food, hamburgers, pizza. I mean, it's going to be a challenge, particularly the ones that do not have the benefit of a franchise or name recognition or something like that, because that's how they're balancing it out. That's same sort of thing can happen with you in your business or any business. If you're trying to kind of serve maybe the soccer mom, at the same time you're trying to serve that person, you're trying to help the local community, in a different way, and then you got maybe the older crowd is there. Let me kind of back up and give you I can think of a better example. If you're a bookkeeper, you're going to be way better off to figure out how to be a good bookkeeper for every convenience store in town and get as many convenience stores as you possibly can, because you will understand everything there is about that business and you can be better than to be a bookkeeper that is for a convenience store, and then your next client is going to be a car wash, and the next one after that's going to be a restaurant. It's not that you can't do those things, but you just are not going to get as versed and capable as you could if you just fine-tune down. Right. And so many of my first, when we're having sessions back and forth, it's all about helping me understand, do you know your customer, and where do we need to go find them, because they're somewhere. And so it's tricky. It's not easy. It's easier to say than probably do. Right. But it is definitely something that once a business owner kind of shifts their way of thinking and says, I'm gonna be the best X for everybody that fits this category, I'm going to do that instead. They usually have better success.
Didn't you? I think you alluded to a story about a pool cleaner or something like that. Was that your workshop?
Yeah, that was my workshop. We had a client who was trying to service pools, and he was all over the whole area. He was chasing around, and he was trying to do this in addition to another job, and so he didn't have a ton of time to make it work. And he had a young family, and so he was trying to kind of shift. Use his time a little bit differently. And so what was happening is he goes, man, I'm staying busy. We hear this a lot. I'm staying busy. I got all this work, but I'm not really making anything. How is this possible? And so he had a lot more downtime than he realized, going from place to place, person to person. He was just, he was not ending up with the result he wanted. And so what he finally realized is, and he did this on his own, he realized that in this one particular square mile where he lived, he and his family, he did, I think, a Google, I think is what he used initially, to see how many pools are in those areas. And he figured out, well, man alive, if there's X number of pools here, and if all I do is just take care of those people, that's going to be more than I could ever deal with. So he quit trying to do that for anybody in West Texas that would show up and give him a phone call and ask him to come around there. Instead, he started trying to focus his time and energy on that neighborhood. And he was very successful getting that done. He got a few people, and then, of course, the neighbor told the neighbor across the street who also had a pool, hey, you need to give this person a call. And so he was able to then spend an hour or two an evening being able to service 2 or 3 or 4 people, and he did it exactly the way he dreamed it could happen. And then eventually, at this point, he may be doing only that. I'm not sure, but that was what he did. He quit trying to do everything, and he focused on that 1 square mile. And I was surprised when I found out that there was that many pools in that one neighborhood. But there was well more than I expected, and it was more than enough for him to take care of what he needed to do. Yeah. That's
a serious lesson about niching down. When I make another appointment with you guys, I'm gonna come to you, and I got 75 things I need to talk about. We probably need to niche that down.
We'll take it in stages. Absolutely.
Is there anything you want to leave the people with before we close it out, or? Well, we didn't touch on?
You said coming to visit with us. Okay, so you're just listening, you're driving down the road or something like that. SBDCmeeting.com. SBDCmeeting.com will take you to the landing page we use to set up a meeting, right? And from that page, you can go in there and just set up I'm a new client or an existing client, and it'll put us on the calendar. It's the best way to do it because there's a lot of people that have access to our calendars, and to just make sure that you're going to have your first available spot. If you want to catch me, I end up having to do a lot of director things too. So sometimes I'll have a little less availability certain times than some of the other people that work in the office with me. So just you can round robin, whatever. I would like as many people to think don't feel like you're not quite ready yet. You're probably more ready than you realize to start talking through an idea. And if all we do is have 1 hour and you realize, well, I'm going to get some files, I'm going to go back and search, and you're going to come back in a year from now. We have one client, Ray in my office, he references this person who he helped them kind of recognize what was needed for them to do the business they wanted to do. And so they kind of had some homework, and they said, this is going to take some time. There were several aspects of this person's situation that had to be addressed. And lo and behold, like 6 years later, they show up, had done everything they needed to do, had kind of got themselves together. Now they are not only successful, but with the first business, now they've added a second piece to it. And so, in other words, we don't have to be there because you're ready to open a business next week. Right. I would like to have everyone think about the SBDC as a resource. We've been here for 35 plus years in Lubbock, and so we'll be here for many, many more years after this. And so just keep that in mind.
Okay. Well, you heard it here. I know a lot of people, I just put it like this. I know a lot of people out there that are trying to start a business or want to start a business, myself included. And it's just one of those things. I don't know. I think it's built into our DNA as, I was going to say Americans, but not even that. I think every country on the planet, it's a natural desire to do your own thing and make, because what it is you get to serve people and make money by doing the same thing. That's the way I see a business. It's a service that you provide, that it's voluntary exchange. People need you to come do what you do, and they're willing to pay you for it. If you can make that living doing something that you enjoy, like that old saying goes, you'll never work another day in your life.
Absolutely. We have some clients that come in and they do the same thing they did for years, but now they're doing it as an independent contractor. Maybe they're able to focus on particular type of cases that they like better. They enjoy it even more. Is their situation dramatically different than before when they were like working for an organization? Maybe, maybe not, but it's definitely better in the ways that matter, right? And I would say that I would encourage people. You hear a lot of scary stats about how many businesses are going to not make it and that type of thing. And I would say, don't let that change your mind, because there's a lot more going on with those stats than People can use stats to just kind of slant things one way or the other.
Lies, dang lies, and statistics.
Yeah, Mark Twain. Yeah. Mark Twain said that, yes. And so here's what I try to get in people to have people recognize. It's business is part of, maybe it's part of the season. Maybe it's while you're in school and you're trying to get, we tell students this regularly. Do you want to go work somewhere? Great. If you want to, earn some money waiting tables or something. But if you want a business where you're doing web design for businesses, because that's the thing that interests you, you could do that on the side and make some money and have some experience. Right. You're going to continue to do that forever? You can have the world's biggest web design company? Probably not. It can hold a season. In other words, a business can serve lots of purposes. And so I usually say, when you look at those numbers, they don't really factor in any of that kind of thing. Somebody who does a side business for a while with their kids, maybe, a father and two sons are doing a landscaping thing, making some money for some family vacations, and then they don't need to do that anymore. That doesn't mean it wasn't successful. It's completely successful. Right. But if you read it from a statistic point of view, they're not doing it after 2 years, so clearly that's not. And so I can find so many exceptions to how that works out. So I usually say, hey, just take that leap and kind of figure out how it would work. And at the very least, that you can, as a business owner, can testify, you will learn more than you thought you'd ever know, right, about something else. And it's not just about your business, about every other aspect of having a business or just putting yourself out in the community and putting yourself into a kind of past your comfort zone maybe in a few years. To me, those are some of the benefits you get as a business owner. Yeah,
I'm glad you said that. I'm going to close it out, but that's one of the things that I enjoy the most is it's something new every situation. You learn something new. You have to deal with something new, something you didn't even realize was going to be part of doing videography, for example. Something pops up and you have to be flexible. You have to be nimble, and you have to use your resources and your wits and make it work. I think that's the part I like.
Yeah, and even if you end up at some point in your life going back to working somewhere else instead, those skills are things you're going to take to that job, and it'll just make everything you do, you have a richer experience because of it.
Indeed. So, man, if that's not enough motivation for you to, if you got a business in mind, if that's not enough for you to get out there and give it a go, I don't know what would be. I say do that. Give it a go. If you got something on your mind or your heart you want to do, go ahead, man. Don't be scared to jump out there. But before you, what do you say? Look before you leap. Before you leap, you might want to stop by the Small Business Development Center or give them a call. Go to the website. It was Lubbock SB.
Yeah, Lubbock
it's a mouthful.
SBDC.org.
LubbockSBDC.org. It'll be right down here, as they say. Y'all can check it out. We'll put links down to everything. And, man, Chuck, I appreciate you stopping by. I thought it was a good conversation. And,
you bet.
Yeah, it was,
thank you for
good
inviting
time.
me. Appreciate it.
And get ready, because I'm going to bombard you with calls and emails, too. So
All right.
Just be
You bet.
ready.
All right.
Don't get mad at me. He going to be mad at me, too. He going to be like,
Not at all.
this guy. All right, LBK, y'all take it easy, man.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Gimmick manifested in the spirit, I'm a work in progress, and you can hear it in the lyrics. And when you feel it, you spit it from the heart. Words can be destructive or considered a work of art.
Who's that sneaking up on me? My mind perceives him, but I can't see him.